Hello and welcome to episode 143 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, this fucking guy, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
I go for a look I call dead but delicious.
On this week's episode, Tenet is out, and more trailers have dropped, along with other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, What We Do in the Shadows. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking a Lancaster Hop Hog IPA.
Lancaster's the beast. More on that later.
I didn't realize. I kind of forgot that they did it in this movie too. That's one of my favorite things from the show, is especially Nandor's like, fucking guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, back to the Hop Hog. Which is, I'm assuming, in Pennsylvania?
I would assume so. Lancaster Brewing.
Pennsylvania, there you go.
Yeah.
Delivering layered hop flavors and a solid malt profile, we doubled down on the dry hopping for even more fresh hop character and refreshing bitterness.
Okay.
It's 7% alcohol by volume. It is 60 IBUs.
All right.
Now, do you want to discuss the well, not can art, bottle art in this case?
We can. It's a hog. You know, he's got some tusks. He's barreling through some hops.
He is.
I like it.
Would you say that the hog is hopping through the hops?
I dare say he is. I dare say.
Charging through the hops?
He is yeah.
Gallivanting.
He looks like he wants some beer, is what I'm getting out of this. Either that or he doesn't want to be part of the pig roast.
Fair.
One of these two. Is he going to the market? Is he having roast beef? What's he up to?
I've always been a little confused as to why the pig was eating roast beef.
Sure. All I know is that he's not staying home.
Also, whenever I think of pig roasts, I think of one of two things, both of them having to do with Hawaii. One, going to a pig roast luau thing in Hawaii. It was a delight.
Sure.
Two, I think of preparations for a pig roast in forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, God.
The best scene in the movie.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is weeping and stabbing the pig.
Why are you crying? I'm not crying, you're crying. Actually, you look like a big baby.
I should probably think of 3 pig roasts, considering we had one here, and that was beautiful as well.
That was good. That was very good. All right, let's give this sucker a taste. Cheers. Let's find out how many hooves we give it. Cheers.
Are we upgrading from fucking
Maybe. Pork grinds.
That's a fruity smelling.
Interesting.
It's a fruity tasting IPA.
It's definitely fruity. All right, so you said it smells fruity, but when I take a big old whiff of it, all I get is olives.
No, I don't think olives. I think guava.
I know you said guava, but my mind made the connection to Ace Ventura. Guano. Hello. The great white bat has great white guano. I think you might be right, which is weird.
Yeah, I'm just as surprised as anyone that that's the pull I came from. But I've had a couple of IPAs with that as a characteristic.
Yeah.
We may have to pause. I would say we're going to have to pause the recording, but we've already had too many technical difficulties to start the last 2 weeks.
Oh no, we're just rolling.
But I thought I broke Anthony for a second because
you did.
I'm not entirely sure where I got guava from. I know I've had it a couple of times in IPAs in the last 6 months.
A few weeks. Yeah, I was gonna say a few weeks back we definitely did one, and we talked about the Rockstar energy drink that had the guava.
Yeah.
That's why I think you're 100% right, which is why I said I was surprised, because even though I know what it tastes like, I don't think I'd ever pick it out.
It's like one of those things, like, you know how every once in a while something happens, you're in a conversation or you're reading something or something happens and a word pops into your mind. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why that word? I don't even know if I know what that word means.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look up the word, you're like, oh my God, this was the perfect word for this situation.
And your brain's like, high five.
Yeah, it's like, it's like one of those things where it's like you almost feels like it's like a divine intervention, like where it's like someone or something put the word in your mind at that exact moment. It's like, because I don't remember even knowing that word. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
That's what I'm going through with this. It's like this smells like a thing, and I want to say it's guava, but how could I possibly know that? Because I don't know what guava is.
Right.
I don't know what it tastes like. I've never eaten a guava.
I don't know what a guava looks like.
Is it guava eatable? Edible?
Eatable. How many thuckles is this guava getting?
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2 thuckles on this. I'm picturing there's a thumb for those keeping score at home.
That sounds right.
There's so I forget where. So I know where. I used to go to this place called Croxley's Ale House. We used to go in. I think it was in Brooklyn, the one that we went to. But there's a couple of them, and they do like take 10-cent wings.
Okay.
And they're really good. Like, or at least when I've gone in the past, they've been very good. And we used to go after work every once in a while, and there was just like I don't know what the beer was, but it was an IPA that had this refreshingly bitter taste, which is what I'm getting from this. It's got like a nice amount of the bitter that's like, but it's not like overly bitter where you can't enjoy it. It's actually, the bitterness of it is enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this is even rating at 60 IBUs because it really isn't even that bitter, honestly. It just kind of has a little bit of the residual.
Yeah.
Not like the drying from it, though.
Right. Well, that's where all that juiciness is coming in. That like fruitiness. But what it's reminding me of a specific beer that I had there, which I unfortunately don't remember the name of. But now all that I can think about is just a never-ending plates of 10-cent wings just coming in hot. And having those right now would be a delight.
I ate an obscene amount of wings last week. We went to a wing night,
nice.
Me and my brother and a few of his friends, Thursday night. And I was starving. I didn't eat anything. I literally had like an apple that day. You know, it was a long day of work. And I guess I was like the last or second to last person to order. And he was going around, we were there for like an hour before we even got to order because a couple of people were late.
Of course.
Whatever. And then it took forever for the food to come out because it was pretty busy. And
I want you to bring me all of your bacon and eggs.
Actually, someone said that too at the table. I want you to bring me all your wings. And they were going around, and like my brother ordered like 18 wings, and his friend was like, he goes, "Oh, I'm going all in. I'm going 24." And like I didn't even say anything. I had already established a number in my head before any of the conversation or ordering happened. It came around to me, and I ordered 30 wings, and he was like, "All right, you dick!" Like you were like trying to me. I was like, no, you don't understand. I am so fucking hungry right now. Had a couple of beers, need to get some
this
food.
Was
in the
predetermined.
Right now. And I think he ate like 20 of the 24 wings, and I ate all 30. And like without like remaining. Struggle, like I wasn't forcing the last couple of wings in. Yeah, just like 30, clean and easy. Like I could have eaten more, and then I would have felt gross.
Sure.
But
you didn't actually get to the gross
part.
No,
didn't have to. I'm glad I didn't order the extra wings, but I easily could have eaten another 10 wings, but then I would have felt like, oh god, I'm going to explode.
Now, important question. Where is this wing joint that you're at?
What do you mean?
Where were you?
In the next town over, the town where I went to high school.
No. What is the place where you ate the wings?
Oh, I thought you meant like, did you travel far and wide for these wings? I was like, I don't know, like the bar in our town.
What? Why do I feel like I'm pulling teeth? Well, I just want to know where to get good wings.
It's not like we live almost 2 hours apart from each other. It's not like you're going to stop in on a Thursday night.
You don't know?
So I thought it was weird. It's called the Rockwall Tavern.
Okay. And are they known for their wings, or they just happen to have them?
I guess they are kind of known for the town, yeah.
All right, nice. I need some good wings in my life.
It's like a town bar, you know what I mean? Like it's like it's better than what you're getting at like a chain place.
Yeah,
like,
I mean most is.
What's that?
Most is better than what you're getting at a chain place. But that sounds delightful. So you're 2 thuckles on this as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
nice. Well done, Lancaster Hop Hog.
I was almost to a third thuckle, I think, but I think probably maybe 2 1/4 thuckle.
God, no, it's unacceptable. There are no quarter thuckles. It's you have 2 thuckles and a nail clipping.
Two thuckles.
The top of that thuckle has a long nail. How about that?
A couple of hairs from the back of my thumb.
Huh? Awesome. Cool. You want to get some news and nuggets?
Sure.
All right. So we don't have much in the line of news and nuggets. Let's kick off with
if you want to we want to start off with what we're watching, because I'm not really watching anything.
Okay.
I'm currently, as we're recording, watching Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup. It's the Islanders versus Tampa Bay Lightning. If you hear an exclamation randomly, it's probably a goal for either team.
Sure.
It'll be either a happy or angry exclamation.
Got it.
If you see me like jerk in my seat, that's what it is.
And if you see me not reacting at all, you know that sports are on TV.
Yeah, so like that's what's going on, because they made the conference final for the first time since 1993. So
cool. But is it going to be like an asterisk kind of thing?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, like they legitimately made the playoffs. Like they were a playoff team.
Sure.
There shouldn't be an asterisk.
Okay.
But I don't care.
Okay.
You know what?
Just curious.
Your asterisk can't steal the images from my retinas.
You're like, I don't care, but you know what? Go to hell. I'm out. And you just hang up.
If they win the cup, go ahead and try and pull the memory of it out of my brain.
Sure.
Sure. Also,
right.
I'm super psyched for football, which is in like less than 24 hours. It's real. It's happening finally. I can't believe we actually got to this point. I hope, for the love of God, that it makes it through a whole season, because I need some football in my life. I've been
doubtful.
It hasn't felt real.
It's doubtful.
We had some fantasy football drafts the last couple of weeks, and now it finally feels real. And oh God, it's tomorrow.
And so it's tomorrow. So I give it 3 to 5 days before something horribly wrong happens.
I mean, it'll probably make it, if it's gonna have a catastrophic ending, I'm gonna give it 4 weeks.
Ow, there was an earthquake here last night.
Did you feel it? It was a really small one.
Kim felt it, yeah. She had woken up, and her and the cats definitely felt it. I woke up after the fact and was like really on edge. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on. And then when I woke up in the morning and read some stuff, I was like, huh. I guess that's what was going on.
It was only a 3-point something, right? Like now,
sure.
Admittedly, it was pretty close to you, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Freehold or something like that?
Yep. Which is like, I don't know, 20 minutes?
Okay, I didn't even realize it was that close. Like,
30 minutes?
Not that far from it, but I didn't realize it was that close to you.
It's straight down that way. For those, I am pointing in a singular direction.
Is it the correct direction?
It is. Fun fact. But yeah, everything's going to hell.
But it was a 3-point something, right? Like that's not real.
I think it's real for New Jersey.
Yeah, it's not real. Well, your house isn't on stilts. You're fine.
But a lot of houses are. They were like, we're going to put these things up after Sandy, and now they have to deal with this shit.
Yeah. Little known fact, hurricane snap stilts.
Yeah. God. All right. So that's what you're watching. You're watching sports for the time being. I was going to say for the foreseeable future, but that's not true.
Yeah, no, it's basically true. I mean, because I got baseball, I got hockey for the time.
I know. I'm all for your optimism.
Well, listen, hockey is fine. The only thing that's going to stop me from watching hockey is if the Islanders tragically lose in the conference finals, and at worst case, they'll only last 2 more games. I'm hoping.
I was going to say, I'm not into sports, but from what I understand, them not winning is a given. Is that? Sorry.
I know you got a couple of friends who are Ranger fans, but fuck you.
Oh, I mean, that's not even what this is about. I know nothing except that Islanders fans are pretty jaded. That's all I got.
Well, I did mention that they haven't made the conference finals in 27 years, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, sure, between 1980 and 1985, they won 4 straight cups. They're the only team to ever do that in any sport, for that matter, which is great. It's also the last of them was 5 years before I was born.
Here he comes. Here he comes with all these facts and figures. This is what they do when they announce things at sporting events, where they're just like, let me pull some random things together that don't really mean much. So
since we have very few news and nuggets, and I'm lamenting and missing the Spinchoon Sports Show, which is still defunct and will be defunct probably forever.
And also is the only show without a logo.
Yeah, that's true. But
it is a piece of pizza. Like a legit piece of pizza that I took a picture of. And it was delicious.
Okay, so here's why Islanders fans are jaded. So in the 90s, they had new ownership. I believe they called them the Four Horsemen. No, I don't remember what their names are because I was a little kid.
Of the apocalypse?
Yes, exactly. Well, it was an apocalypse. What happened to the team after that? So they tried to sell the team to this guy named John Spano, and he was super excited. And that's what everyone wanted, was ownership that was super excited to be the owner of the team. And he was committing wire fraud to try and buy the team. So he had this little scam where they kept saying, hey, we need to prove that you have enough money to buy this. He's like, oh no, I've got it. Trust me.
I assure you.
Pay
no attention to the money behind the curtain.
Yeah, I assure you, I have many millions of dollars. And then he would like, okay, well, can you give us some of it? Like, because like you're gonna buy the team. And I believe he like put like a tenth of it in escrow.
He said, nah, man, that ain't me.
Yeah, he put like a tenth of it in escrow. I was like, oh, sorry, the decimal point was just off. It was like, hey, we need you to put up like $30 million right now, just to as good faith. And like he put up 3 or something like that. Like, I'm making up the numbers, but like that was
sure.
The gist
it's the gist of it. Yeah, it's fine.
And and then it was like, okay, so here's the thing you can do. Just spitball here is just have your bank fax us some information showing you that you have bank statements showing you have the money. Sure, totally. And he had like some buddy who was like playing with a broken fax machine that was sending garbled information, and it was getting sent and resent and unsent. And he got really close to buying the team, and he didn't have the money.
Sure.
So that was a debacle. So then they were just looking for anyone who they could possibly get to buy it, and someone bought it. And Charles Wang was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible as an owner, and he didn't quite have enough money to run it like a premier franchise, and we couldn't get a new arena built. And then he hired a GM who was a former player for the Boston Bruins, who was most known for trying to kill a fan with a skate. And yeah, if you want to like look up what the hell is his name, Mike Milbury, look up Mike Milbury's skate, and you'll find a video of him after a hockey game. The game wasn't even going on. After a hockey game, climbing into the stands and trying to beat... Oh, sorry, no, not a skate. Shoe. I think he took off one of the people in the stand's shoe and was trying to beat him to death with it.
Oh, with a shoe?
Yeah, shoe. I said skate. It was a shoe.
Man, this is a far better story now that it's a shoe.
Yeah. Well, no, skate, like if he tried to like slash him with the skate, like that would have been pretty ridiculous too, but just beating him with the shoe is great as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, one of them is like attempted murder, and the other one is assault.
Still
so now I feel better laughing about it, knowing that he took a person's shoe and tried to beat them with it.
That was great. And then
if you were to say to someone, "I'm going to beat you to death with your own shoe," that would be funny.
Yeah,
he tried.
And then he traded 3 players who were super young, and one of them was a goalie who's a borderline Hall of Famer. One of them is a defenseman who is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And another guy was a forward who had a lovely decade-long career. And we got back one pretty good player who was good for our team for like 2 years. And then we made the playoffs a couple of times, but then mostly didn't make the playoffs. And then finally he got fired, and then we had another GM. And there was a dark age of about a decade. And then we drafted the first overall pick, who was, I'm sure you've heard of Sidney Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
He's like considered like the next best player in the modern era since Wayne Gretzky, like tremendous player. And this was like the next guy like that, and he wasn't quite as good. His name was John Tavares, and he was very good, and he was here for a decade. And then he asked us not to trade him, and also didn't sign an extension, and then walked in free agency. So that was great. And we looked like we were going to then go into another decade of irrelevance after having had a few years in the playoffs. But we hired one of the greatest GMs in all of sports history, Lou Lamoriello, and Barry Trotz, who is probably the best current coach in the NHL. And we've been in the playoffs every year since, and we've gone farther in the playoffs than the team that he left us for, the Toronto Maple Leafs, every single year, which is just the most delightful and delicious Schadenfreude that one can possibly feast on in sportsdom. And so now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they lost Game 1, and they're tied in Game 2, and hopefully they win this game and go on to the Stanley Cup Final. It'd be great. It'd be the first time I ever saw it in my life.
Cool. Well, I hope that it happens for you.
Yeah, me too, because the Jets are going to be fucking terrible, so.
So you just follow these teams that are just notoriously have a bad rap.
Listen, I'm a Yankees fan, so that about helps
gotcha.
and makes up for the rest of it. Although they are now 11 years since they won the World Series, but still, they go to the playoffs every year. So
sure.
You can only complain so much.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Cool. Well, that's Spinchoon Sports Show for this week. We'll
talk about
see
Dune
you next week. Dune trailer's out. Yesterday? I'm not even
today,
sure.
When
you were listening to this, not today.
Yesterday.
But
or the
you
day
can
before,
see it.
5 days before?
Or 5 days ago.
When you sent it to me, I put it on right before you called me for the start of the recording, and it said the video was posted like 8 hours earlier or something like that. So it was today.
Long trailer. Long trailer that didn't bother me, though.
No.
Which is good. Very interested.
Yes.
I am so interested. I was watching it. I was like, I'm getting like this weird nostalgic feeling for something that I have no nostalgia for.
You were getting nostalgia for a thing that we both didn't really like.
Right. What is that about?
I think I liked it slightly more, but just because, and I said, when we were wrapping up, that, okay, I can see how this could be a really good movie.
And here is the answer to how it could be a really good movie.
That's what I said, is I'm really curious to see what an actual...
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to say an actually good director. That's not fair to David Lynch. But another good director with probably a much better budget and a much better vision for what they're going into. I'm still confused. It looks like this is a trailer for a complete movie that's a complete story.
I disagree.
Okay.
It felt like for just from piecing together points of the movie, it definitely feels like a first half to me.
Maybe it could. There was a couple of things. No, actually, you know what? Based on what we saw, it looks like it could have ended with them just joining that resistance.
Exactly, and I think that's going to be the break.
There was one scene where, in the trailer, that I was like, "Oh, is that a thing that's kind of after where we said the break would make sense?" But I'm not sure. I just don't remember. I've been too lazy to look up whether or not they're still going forward with the 2-movie thing.
I hope so.
Me too.
Because it was definitely crammed in the previous version.
This definitely feels like a story if you're going to tell that whole story.
It's an epic. It seems like something really cool.
6 hours. It feels like you need 5 or 6 hours, and 2.5 hours isn't going to cut it.
I completely agree. I will say, I was kind of curious the whole trailer. I was like, are they going to show the worm?
It looked pretty badass.
And then they showed the worm, and I was like, they did a good job with that worm. They did. Oh no, sorry. They did a good job with that spice.
That's a good worm. That's a good worm.
That's a good worm. That's a good worm.
I do have some
awesome
thoughts on the as I was watching the trailer, and I was like, two things that went through my mind. One, I was like, oh god, I had no idea that what's his name was playing his father.
Yeah, neither did I.
I assumed he was going to be playing the Patrick Stewart role for some reason.
Nope, that's Josh Brolin, right?
That's Josh Brolin. It looks like.
Yeah. Cool.
Or Jason Momoa, one of those two.
I don't know that. By the way, I can learn your voice to improve your Alexa experience.
Alexa, shut up.
Would you like to?
Nice.
I didn't know that was plugged in over there. That was really creepy.
Yeah, that is always unsettling. Yeah, I think the Jason Momoa character, I believe, is the guy that they go to see when they get to Arrakis, but I could be wrong.
So that was the guy who was with, what's his name? Was it Max von Sydow? Was that who it was in that movie?
I think so. That's my guess for who it is.
Yeah, you might be right. I think you might be right.
I also had they had this cool sword salute thing that I kind of liked. I don't know what that was, but that was cool. There was I like that they seeing clips of things that they were going to do that were basically almost shot for shot, which I imagine are very close to how it was written, but the box that he has to put his hand in, you got to see basically the majority of that scene, which was really cool too, but was just all around better. It was just, all of it was better. And that was just a trailer.
It looked great.
It looks really good. I'm very excited for this.
Just like it looked really clean, which is the exact opposite of everything that the David Lynch one looked. Everything was super dirty in that movie.
And we get the one. I think we only got like one real sneak peek of Skarsgård, but I was like, this is a good casting job. I like what we're doing. The exact
same thing. Him and Bautista were perfect casting for those creepy motherfuckers.
Yeah, all for it.
I don't think I even noticed Javier Bardem in the trailer. Was he in it?
Oh, okay. Yes, he was. I'm fairly certain that he was because I feel like there was a character. That makes sense. There was somebody that I saw that was like, who is that? So it might have been him.
I don't remember who Stilgar was.
So, and when does that come out? Did it have a date?
It didn't on the trailer. It just said only in theaters.
Okay, so however long it takes, whatever it takes, only in theaters.
I'm looking right now. It says on IMDb, it says post-production expected December 18th.
Okay, cool.
I realized while I was watching the trailer too, I totally didn't know or forgot that Jason Momoa and Josh Brolin were in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the other major like characters that popped up, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that person was going to be in it. Oh yeah, I remember that person was going to be in it. Oh, I didn't realize who was playing who, other than that Timothée Chalamet was playing Paul. But
right, we also knew Zendaya was in it.
Yeah, no, I remembered she was in it.
It seems like though, if I remember all of this correctly, that's why I think it's probably going to be a two-parter because they only had so much to show of her, and I believe it's because we wouldn't really see her character until like maybe a clip in the beginning and then at the very end of the movie, before getting a lot more of her maybe potentially in the second half.
I was just a little worried because there's a scene of the two of them standing together with the nose things, and that's once he's like cross-side.
I think that would be the dream that he's getting in the early part of the movie.
I guess that's true. It could be that. You're right.
That's me speculating based on the. I really feel like if you're gonna do it, so far it looks like it's coming together really well. If you're gonna do it this well, just give it the time it needs.
Yes.
You know. But I'm very much looking forward to it. This is definitely like it's a blockbuster like sci-fi adventure that I'm very much looking forward to. I don't know. Still not sure how I'm going to be feeling towards December. I know theaters are kind of opening up by me, but we'll see.
I'm looking at David Desmalchian is in this as Peter DeVries. I realize. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going right there. That was exactly what I was going for. I'm trying to remember. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought the character was. Yeah, that's probably a perfect character casting as well. Because he can play creepy, and it's the doctor who was with the creepy people, the one who was played by
creepy people.
Creepy people.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, if you think about it, considering the way they chose to show off, what was his name? Baron something or other. Baron Harkonnen. The fat guy in the chair.
Yeah.
And how gross he is generally in that movie. Stellan Skarsgård has done that too in fucking Pirates of the Caribbean when he's when he's like playing like a kind of undead sailor, bootstrap Bill Turner with the starfish going on the side of his face and everything like that. He's basically played that exact role before. It is perfect. That's cool.
It's good. I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it.
The action sequences looked good. It was,
oh yeah, effects look tight.
Yeah.
I was curious how they were going to do the weirding thing, the weirding module. That looked pretty good too. Like they basically like made them like their entire bodies were kind of shimmering. That was pretty cool, rather than being giant squares. Right. Yeah, and then let's be serious. On a scale of 1 to 10, this movie's going to get an entire point on Oscar Isaac's beard. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's pretty luscious.
It's intense.
It's almost as luscious as my hair has become.
I can't remember who. I wish I can give credit, but I came across a tweet earlier today that just said like, it said like something like "LOL, John Boyega's thirst for Oscar Isaac," and it was a picture of his tweet of the screenshot with Oscar Isaac, and it just says "Wow." So that was cool. Yeah, this is gonna be. I needed something like this to look forward to in the movie world. Granted, obviously, I'm very excited for Tenet, but I don't think I'm seeing it anytime soon, unfortunately. So
that just reminded me. I have to find this now while we're still on this topic. I saw this tweet earlier, but I hadn't seen the trailer yet, and it was. Do you know who Jason Isbell is?
I don't think so.
He's a country singer.
What is it?
He's a country singer.
No, I do not.
Okay. So apparently he's fairly famous. He's like alt country. Like not like the really poppy, like more mainstream country. And so he had a tweet that was making the rounds earlier. It was, that Dune trailer looks pretty great, and this is coming from somebody who's had sex.
Wow. Wow. That's funny. That's so stupid. But getting back to blockbusters, I'd like to talk about Tenet for a minute. With an opening weekend with 20 million US and 150 million globally during a pandemic. That's just pretty impressive to me, considering looking at, I mean, granted, we all knew Tenet was probably going to make a lot of money in its opening weekend if it were a time where everybody was going to the movies. There was, I didn't even have the option to be part of this opening weekend. That's why I find this amount to be very impressive.
Yeah, I still don't understand why I can't find a drive-in. I still don't know why it's not available on drive-in near me. Because
I wonder if
maybe
it's not allowed to be played in a drive-in.
I will gladly give them my money.
I know.
To watch it from the safety of my car. I
meant more of like I wonder if like Nolan has some sort of like specific ruling about the viewing of his film.
You'd think he'd be on board for it because it's a bigger screen than any indoor screen. That being said,
well, maybe some of them, not the one that I went to.
Oh, I know there's a couple in my area that they are definitively bigger than any indoor screen can possibly be. That being said, I can understand the possible fears of piracy.
Oh, there's that too, I guess.
But I will give you my dollars.
Sure.
I will give you many dollars. I will give you some dollars.
I was torn. I was trying to think like if I could see it in the drive-in, am I going to go?
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I'm just worried. I ultimately I'd probably decide to go, but I want the booming movie theater effect.
Sure, but I also don't want to get sick. So
Oh no, 100%. But I could also get pretty close to that at home when it gets here.
But you could watch it now.
I know.
The thing is, when it gets here, you can watch it at home too.
That's true.
Which you will many times.
100%. 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a silly exercise because I just don't have the option. If I had the option, I probably would have already seen it. Yeah. And I would say don't have the option as in, like you said, driving, because I haven't seen that available yet. Yeah, 20 million opening weekend here. And let's go down. I want to run down his opening weekends.
I mean, I'm sure this will be the smallest, post.
These are U.S. Openings that I have here. So Tenet, 20 million too. Dunkirk, 50 million 5. Now think about, I mean, if you look at that, it's considering the circumstances, I feel like that's pretty crazy.
Well, the one thing I'll say is, didn't Dunkirk have one of those weird staggered openings where it only opened in select IMAX first?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. It might have.
I think it did. I know you came and saw it with us. I don't think it was opening weekend, but it was quite early in its run.
Well, I had already seen it, so it was definitely not opening weekend.
Oh, did you?
I saw it opening night. So there was that. Yeah, but no, you're right. And then so that could have played into it. I actually thought I was actually not even with Dunkirk. I was thinking something similar because I assumed Interstellar would have been higher than this, but Interstellar was 47.5.
Yeah, no, I don't think Interstellar didn't perform that well at the box office. Yeah. Remember, that was something we kind of questioned when we did our episode because we all loved it.
Right. And okay, so checking out one more thing. You love Inception.
Yes.
We all love Inception. 62 million.
Huh.
So I am, now that you say it, I am curious if there is a staggered opening situation with all of his movies because he wants them seen on an IMAX screen.
Yeah, I mean, Inception is definitely too far back for me to remember.
Sure.
What was the opening weekend on Dark Knight?
So that's where it gets interesting. So The Dark Knight is 158 million, which means that it was 100% wide release.
Yeah, all the other ones had to have had staggered openings because that
makes a lot of sense. Batman Begins, $48 million though.
That's
it was the first
because
entry
he wasn't
into.
really Christopher Nolan yet, and that series wasn't that series yet, obviously.
Yeah, and then Rises was $160 million. Basically $161 million.
Yeah, and coming off the anticipation,
of course, which is Inception being in between, which is why I would also lean in towards it's probably a limited release opening weekend type situation.
And the word of mouth on Inception was so strong, so it had to have been a limited release.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you see worldwide box office not opening, it went 729. Mm-hmm. So it raked it in. But Insomnia, 20 million. Memento, 235,000.
But that was his first feature film, right?
There is a movie called The Following that was before that, but I'm not entirely sure what that was.
Oh, I've never even heard of that.
Sorry, not The Following. It's just called Following.
The Following was the Kevin Bacon
and it was
show.
It was 1,636 opening weekend.
Oh wow! Yeah, no, I never heard of that one.
It also said maximum theaters 2.
Oh,
so I wonder if you actually do that math, is that the most successful film he's made
on a per seat basis?
right. That's kind of funny. Oh yeah, that's actually, I'm kind of curious. So maximum theaters, how that maximum theaters number matches up with the opening weekends. Obviously, yeah, the opening weekends that were higher definitely had an interestingly much larger size maximum theaters, and I don't know if that is the maximum theaters doesn't have a gauge next to it, so it seems like it might be as far as the entire run goes. But still, it would be indicative that there was a smaller number of them early on.
Yeah,
but cool. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
I didn't remember for all of them, but I for sure remember Dunkirk was an IMAX opening because it was shot in IMAX, wasn't it?
I mean, the majority of his movies in at some capacity are shot for that.
But it's gotten more and more so as time's gone on, and that was the first one I remember specifically. They were like, if you don't watch, like the
Dunkirk, I think it was the whole thing.
Yeah, that was what I was saying. That was the first one that I think that was like it was 100% of it, and the marketing felt like the Talladega Nights, like if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
Yeah,
where it's like if you don't watch this movie in IMAX, then fuck you.
That's true. I will say for Interstellar, I know that I don't know if it's actually Interstellar might be the whole thing as well. Maybe not the whole thing.
That was the other one that I thought was I felt like it was, but I don't remember. For sure.
I do know that I have a film clip from it, like an actual clipping of film from the movie. As part of like some special edition that I purchased, which is kind of cool, like almost like a negative, basically.
You and your special editions.
yeah. If I don't own a movie once, it's because I own it 4 times. But
I don't own every movie, but when I do, I own it 4 times.
I own them a lot. Awesome. Do you have any other news and nuggets?
Yes, I have a very small one. It's going to come off slightly odd because I think I mentioned a week or 3 ago that season 2 of The Boys was imminent.
Mm-hmm.
It came out this past week. I haven't watched any of it yet.
And that's all I have to say about that.
But I have one other thing to say about it.
Okay.
So apparently they released the first 3 episodes.
Oh.
Which I didn't know they were going to do that. I don't recall them ever announcing they were going to do that. And I don't know if they're then weekly releasing the rest of them. I just don't know.
That's weird.
I feel like if you weren't ready to release them all, don't.
Or if you're going to do it episodically, do it episodically.
That too. Although, actually, that's not totally fair. They're trying to one-up Hulu/FX on Hulu. Sorry, Brian. Because that's been the model since FX on Hulu became a thing, where they release the first 2 episodes of a thing and then go weekly.
So Disney Plus, I believe, started that, right? With The Mandalorian.
But that's the only thing they've done it with, I think.
No, I know, but it's also like their only show. No, I'm kidding. I know they have other stuff.
Yes, I believe you're correct. Well, no. They released them on back-to-back days, didn't they?
Oh, you might be right.
I think you could only watch... Or, no, sorry. It was twice in the first week. It was like Tuesday for The Mandalorian and then like Friday, and then every was Friday after that.
So, yeah.
FX/FXX has started doing that for the last couple of years, and now everything that's come out on FX and other things on Hulu that aren't dropping all together, they put the first 2 episodes. Remember, devs, they gave us the first 2 episodes that first day, and then it was weekly after that.
That's right. Yeah. Interesting. But there's no word, though, you're saying.
There may be. I haven't found it.
Gotcha.
I haven't had the time to watch the show, let alone find out about it. I just know my brother watched the first 3 episodes. The first day was out last Friday.
I went, oh, man.
Well, so here's how I experienced it. Or maybe it was Thursday. I forget. Here's how I experieed it. Is he said, "Oh, I watched the first 3 episodes of The Boys," and he's like, it took a minute to get started, but that's not uncommon for second seasons of shows that are like unexpected hits, right? Yeah. Where it's like, hey, we got to kind of reframe what's going on. Not like it's a reboot or anything, but like they expanded the cast, expanded the scope of the show, and so that's not unexpected for that to take a second to get going. He goes, by the 3rd episode, he's like, yeah, like this is going, but he didn't say that was all available. He just said, I watched the first 3 episodes, and by the end of the 3rd, I was super excited. I was like, okay, cool. And then I found out like 2 days later that was all that was out. And I was like, did you know? And he's like, oh yeah, no, that was all that was there. I was like, and you didn't think to bring this up?
That's funny. I like the angle that he just didn't even question it and has and doesn't care or care to think that there may be or may not be more.
Yeah,
I know it's the first 3, but I don't know if there will be more.
there will have to be at some point, but like the messaging on this show has always been, it seemed that like they finished it. So I guess I didn't watch it, I'm going to say quote unquote live when it came out last year. I think me and him watched it maybe a month after it dropped. So I don't know what the exact release schedule was, but I just assumed like Amazon has only done like
they
drop like seasons to my knowledge. Like I don't think they've done anything episodically like that.
Yes, from what I understand, that's same for me. Yeah, interesting. I definitely a show I want to check out. I'll have to give that a run.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. It's good. It's interesting. I did a review for the Spinchoon on that. It was pretty well received, I think, from what I remember.
Shall we get into some fun and games?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, Al, have I got the quiz for you? Which vampire from What We Do in the Shadows are you?
Oh, perfect.
Approximately how old are you? 8,000, and the bags under my eyes can attest to that. Almost 900, but I look 16. That's from the movie. 379. In my 30s. 28, but I'm going to live forever. Super young, like 183, and still in my rebellious phase.
I'm going to go with 28, but I'm going to live forever, and that's only because preparations have begun for me and Caleb's 30th birthday, which is approaching rapidly.
Yep. Okay, this is ridiculous. Choose a bed. I'm going to describe these beds to you. One is just a delightfully comfy, what looks to be king size, if not larger, bed with a lot of pillows. Looks very comfortable. One is a black, slightly charred coffin. One is a red oak, nicely finished coffin. One is like a nice pine finished coffin with a lot of edging work. One is just a kind of like a beechwood coffin. I know a lot about wood now, by the way.
You built one bike rack, and now you know everything about wood.
One is a beechwood coffin with these like rhinestone cross inlays, and one is just a box,
like old school Wild Wild West pine box.
Like with just like a little lever lock on it.
We go with the huge king size bed.
Huge king size, fair enough.
I've lived my whole life with a pathetic.
What's your favorite thing about Stu? He's a murderer. He gets technology. He has big red cheeks. He's a vegetarian. He has warm human hands. He's a virgin.
Let me go with the rosy red cheeks.
Okay.
Look at him with his rosy red cheeks.
Choose an enemy. The Beast, nuns, Twilight, vampire hunters, werewolves, or humans. The stock image that they chose for humans is perfect.
Oh, yeah?
It is a bunch of older folks playing golf together. It's great.
I'm going to go with vampire hunters.
Vampire hunters, of course. What's your best trait as a flatmate? I always recycle. I do the dishes only once every 5 years or so. I bring over human guests. I'm just a fun, sociable guy. I offer fashion advice because we don't have reflections. I mostly just keep to myself.
I'm going to say I'm fun and sociable. I was a little confused, though, because why are the clothes invisible?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I feel like the clothes should have been there just looking like they're floating. By the way, them making, like, the marionette, like, clothes mannequin and moving it around to, like, display the outfit was incredible.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Choose a hobby. Knitting, hooking up, flying, scrapbooking, partying, software development.
Flying.
Okay. Choose a vital part of your vampire look. Blouses, a unique jacket, fangs, a good head of hair, a menacing expression. I actually prefer a pre-dead aesthetic.
I'm gonna go with flowing hair. Okay. Also, that was probably, I forgot her name, but the Familiar. That was probably the Familiar's best line. They don't even wear shirts; they wear fucking blouses.
Yeah. Which food do you miss the most? Chips, salad, chocolate, burgers, spaghetti. I don't miss any food.
You pronounced that third time.
Sorry, Biscotti?
Biscotti, yeah.
Biscotti?
Burgers.
How are you most likely to die? Killed by a vampire hunter after giving him my email? Disemboweled by werewolves? Accidentally falling asleep with the curtains open? Hereditary heart disease.
Wait, can vampires die from hereditary heart disease?
I don't know.
I'm going to say fall asleep with the curtains open.
Okay. All right. You got Nick. You're Twilight. You're Dracula. You want to scream it from the rooftops. You're living the ideal vampire life, and you've even got your best friend by your side. It was hard fitting in with the older vampires for a while, but now you definitely feel like one of the guys. Pretty soon you'll stop missing good food, and maybe they'll even let you move into Peter's room. Oh, man. With that, let us get into our flick of the week. What We Do in the Shadows. Released in 2014, rated R at 1 hour and 26 minutes. This is your IMDb synopsis. Viago, Deacon, and Vladislav are vampires who are finding that modern life has them struggling with the mundane, like paying rent, keeping up with the chore wheel, trying to get into nightclubs, and overcoming flatmate conflicts. This movie is a welcomed treat.
Alex, the whole What We Do in the Shadows universe.
Universe? Yeah, it's exactly what you need today.
Yes,
100%.
Something that is. I mean, it's dark in a way that doesn't actually wear on you because it's like you can't help but laugh when people are getting eviscerated.
Yep.
And the stakes never feel too high. It's just a good laugh. It's the type of show / movie that you want to pay attention to because there are so many stupid little things.
You don't want to miss them.
That you don't want to miss.
Yep.
But it doesn't feel like a chore.
No, it's engaging and entertaining.
And especially at 86 minutes, like it fucking flies.
Oh yeah, 100%. Hit me with your tweet length review.
You ready?
Yep.
Ridiculous.
Awesome. That's kind of like the cover art, the cover poster, which is like a post-review poster that they put together. That is all of the different outlets that reviewed it, and one quote from each of them that just says hilarious. What's your score?
8 out of 10.
All right, nice. I said rough around the edges, but enough of a quality first draft to have its roots cemented in the incredibly polished follow-up reboot series. That 7 out of 10.
Well, that's the thing, right? Where it's like there are some storylines in this movie that were literally ripped from the page
one for one,
put into the show in the first or second season.
Yeah.
There are other things that were very clear inspirations for that. Even like the characters, there's a lot of similarity. Well, specifically between Viago and Vladislav, there's a lot of similarities. Even if you want to say they kind of blendered them up and reconfigured them
Nandor and Laszlo.
Into Nandor and Laszlo. I wouldn't
100%.
say it's exactly the same between Nadja and Deacon, but still there's...
It's funny. It's almost like Nadja is like an interesting, like... It rounded out the cast in a really nice way.
Well, I think they just realized just doing 3 dudes, especially when they have
it got
a dude
silly.
familiar and like other people are predominantly going to be dudes, like at least one woman in here, and it allowed them like because honestly, after a certain point, Deacon's just the hothead.
Yeah,
like, there isn't really a lot up until the
He's
end.
the bad boy of the group.
Yeah, up until the very end. Up until the very end, there wasn't really much for him to like do to stand out.
Yeah.
Like his little sit down with Nick at the end was really the only defining bit of him for the final 2/3 of the movie.
Which is like absurdly endearing for a really goofy movie.
Yes. So Nadja just gets to be something different, and even like one of her storylines is ripped right off from Viago's. The whole thing where she's creepily standing outside of Gregor's thing is very similar to him standing outside of Catherine.
Sweet Gregor. Oh man, it really is. It's a treat. It's funny because I feel like I say it's a really good first draft, and that's not to disparage it. Like it's good. It's a lot of fun. It's just that the show is so much better.
Yeah. I mean, you said the budget was $1.6 million, and you thought that seemed too high for this movie. And yeah, it does look cheap. The show doesn't, except for when they're intentionally making it look cheap, which are all of the effects that they make look exactly the same as this movie. And that's actually one of my notes on here is no matter how many times they do the stupid, terrible floating and hissing, it never gets old to me. It's funny every time.
It never gets old. Never.
And
the hissing is my favorite thing ever in this whole thing, this whole universe.
The hissing is great, but the terrible floating is so great to me too. And it looks terrible in the movie, but you can understand with only $1.6 million budget. It looks terrible in the show, but it's just so that it looks exactly the same as it does in the movie.
Yep.
And that's why it's endlessly hysterical to me, is because it always looks so bad.
Yeah.
And it's so bad that it's good.
I think it's funny because, like, I don't know if you've ever gotten the chance to see a comedian do stand-up before, like, while they're on tour prior to a special that they record, but you don't often get the experience of seeing the joke go from, like, good to really polished, and that's like, where a lot of it
actualized.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I feel like a lot of the stuff in the show is at. It's like the polished version of what they tried to do in the movie, and it was very funny in the movie. It's even more. It's like perfectly timed and perfectly delivered in the show. So it's very. I just think they did such a good job. The characters have. All of these ridiculous characters have some sort of a weird, absurd chemistry that just works so well.
Yeah.
They all play off each other so good.
Yeah, especially, I thought, anytime it's two of them together, I think they did a really great job. I think sometimes when there's three of them, one person kind of gets pushed off to the side. It's not always the same person either.
Yeah, they're just kind of there sometimes. Because it's usually like a one-on-one. Because it seems like a lot of the dialogue seems to be written, directed like one person at the other. So it does... Yes. I could see that being like
one of
the other one. In the shadows.
One of the few times actually I thought it worked really well was it actually starts almost as one-to-one with the person, but it's intentional. And it's when they're arguing about the chore wheel. And, like, Viago is talking at Deacon, and Deacon's just kind of, like, blank face. And then Vlad, like, backs him up, and it's just the two of them riffing. And then finally Deacon snaps, but, like, you can see it, like, wearing on him on his face. So it was actually like really good with the three of
Yeah.
them together, even though two of them are really talking for most of the scene until he snaps, and then they do
Right,
the
right.
hissing and the floating and the.
So stupid, the hissing. I love it so much. There's something I'm so glad we found Taika Waititi, because he's one of those people. There's a handful of actors that didn't do this. I'm sure you have a handful of friends that are like this as well. But you just see them and you start to laugh before they even do anything.
Well, part of it is whether he's acting or not, he has an incredible facial range.
Yeah.
He makes some of the greatest, most hysterical faces. It doesn't matter whether he's wearing fangs or not. It doesn't matter if he has ridiculous gray hair or slicked back black hair. It doesn't matter whether he's got a Hitler mustache and Hitler clothes on, or he's a vampire with silk like blouse. He does a great job with like just changing up his face, making these funky faces. I think he does it intentionally, just like goes through like cycles through ranges of it just to see what moment you'll crack.
Yeah, that's 100% what it seems like. And for me, it is the moment he's on screen.
Yes.
I'm cracking up. He's so funny. You know what it is? Also, they perfectly timed it. They kicked the movie off with him coming out of the coffin, slowly rising, not making it all the way up, and then having to go a little bit further. And the way that he looks at the camera and grins, immediately I was hysterical.
Well, because like so many times, like it feels like he's like a puppy dog. Like he's got like this like innocent like energy about him, even though he's like a murderous vampire. But even that, he finds a way to like spin it to being like I said, like innocent and like almost joyful. Where he's like, oh, when I'm gonna feed on someone, I like to take them out, do a whole thing, make sure they have a really great time because it's the end of their life, And then he takes that woman out on the date, and then
he puts all the paper down.
Yeah, he
puts the handkerchief on.
He goes, "Oh, we just put this away," and she's like super excited, like, "Oh wow, he's awfully forward," but like, yeah, I'm into it. And then like he like bites her neck and like just a tremendous amount of blood flow.
Yeah,
like,
and he starts panicking.
He's panicking. The 1,000-yard stare he gives after he's done, where he's just sitting there with his hand in his head. Oh, I got the major artery.
Yeah,
I got the wrong artery, and he's just drenched in blood. The blood is everywhere. And then they come back to him giving his final thoughts in the interview. All of this has been said into the camera. He goes back to the final part. He's cleaned up, and he goes, "I think she had a good time."
I do think that is one of the things that like it's so funny because on its own it could be hysterical, but I'm not always a fan of the mockumentary style.
I think it really fits for the movie. Actually, I think it fits much better for the movie that does the show, and you can see.
I agree.
For the most part, especially once it gets into the second season, the show tends to distance itself from that format a little bit. With a couple of exceptions. Did you make it to the Jackie Daytona episode yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh my god, I can't wait till you watch that.
I may be pausing.
I want you to call me up when you're going to watch it.
Okay.
And I want us to put a call on, and I want to watch it too.
So
that's how good it is.
It's going to take a minute, and the reason being is I'm going to be restarting the series.
What?
Because Kim watched the movie.
I've been saying this from the beginning, and you're like, I don't think she's going to like it. I'm like, in what world?
She was like, it was pretty funny. I was like, if you liked that, like if you thought that was good enough to keep you, like, I was like, you're going to love the show.
it is just a more polished version. I don't think every single bit is funnier. Some of the bits in the movie were really great.
Yeah.
I actually thought, and I guess this is kind of my favorite moment.
Hit me.
Any of the heightened action scenes, specifically the two, like the one where they're hunting Nick down, before he's a vampire. And then
Peter got him. Oh, Peter got him.
Well, there's so much, and like I want to go into it again, like deeper in a minute. But like just so I wanted to highlight that, and then the scene at the end when the werewolves are going nuts. And they're hunting them down.
Yeah,
both of those scenes were so incredible. There's the frenetic energy.
Yeah,
totally shit show. Like, and they can get away with it being a shit show because it's supposed to be documentarians watching a bunch of people, not watching people being brutally murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So you expect them to lose some stuff with the handheld camera?
I want to get into like all of these specific scenes, but before doing that, I do want to say like if you're fans of us and like the stuff that we like, then this is for you. And you have to I know it took me a minute to get into it, but you should. I honestly like the way that I did it. I would watch the first season of the show, go back and watch the movie, see how this all came about, and then go into the second season. It's a great way to mix it up.
I mean, honestly, I guess maybe maybe it was better doing it this way, because like maybe I would have been slightly disappointed if I watched the movie first and then watched the first season, because like, oh, they're doing this bits again. Now going back and seeing the origin, it feels like it's safe, because like this kid has been ripping that off, and I don't really feel like it's because to establish it's like, oh, like this worked, like let's do it again to set up what we're doing. And It wasn't only that, obviously, in the show. Like they do a lot of other things too, but they did a lot of those things. But yeah, no, I was just surprised why you pushed back that you didn't think Kim would like it. I was like, because she likes like clever.
Okay, so
funny
that's the thing. It's clever masquerading around as dumb, though.
Yes,
and I think sometimes it's hard to break through that.
Well,
not saying this show in general, that shtick is a little hard to break through sometimes.
It's just you have to have faith. Like if it works, there's a reason it works, and that reason is in order to write really stupid jokes, you have to be really smart.
Yeah.
And this gets it. Like, it's like, I look at it the same way as Arrested Development. There are a litany of stupid fucking jokes in that show. But you have to be so smart to execute them. A lot of Parks and Rec is like that as well. Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
So
I would even say Parks and Rec, I love Parks and Rec. I would say it sometimes leans into the stupid, like a little bit more, almost to the point where like sometimes it's not actually that clever, and some of the jokes are just stupid, but it's okay because it's mixed nicely with the rest of the clever writing.
Well, also most of those tend to be the improv jokes anyway.
That's true.
Like it's a lot of it's like Andy being like 110% too stupid.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, that couldn't have been written down. That's him just riffing.
For people that are into Parks and Rec, even if you're not, you should watch some blooper reels, even if you haven't seen the show, because there's some amazing stuff that happens there. There's one in particular where Andy is pretending to be Burt Macklin, and he FBI, and he throws a suitcase. He gets the stuff that he needs, and he throws the suitcase behind him, and it hits the lights, and it turns the lights off in the room. And it is completely on accident, and it's really good. But that show cracks me up too. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's get into some more spoiler territory stuff. Hitting back on your favorite. Let's start with your favorite moment again.
Yeah. So part of why, especially the first scene with Nick, is like you realize like, oh wow, they're just like this is a good night out for them, and like they're having a great time doing this thing. There's first of all like before the antics really pick up, right? It's serve them their dinner. And do you like biscotti?
Yeah.
Do you like biscotti? And
I can't even say it, even though I know what he's saying. Like, because I know how to say spaghetti, for some reason it's so hard for me to say it in the way that you just said it. I've tried before.
That was really the only time that they let Deacon really shine comedically. Do you like biscotti? You know, and he's doing like an accent. He's doing two different accents at the same time somehow. And then he comes, and he does, oh, how do you like your worms? And he freaks out, and he goes, I stole that from the Lost Boys.
I think my favorite part about that scene is actually there's the understated lines from the other people in the room, including Nick, where he's like, I like spaghetti, usually when it's warm.
Yeah. Well, so then they go through the whole thing, and then one of the other great like jokes in this is, and it's a freak out moment, but it's a callback as well, is when they were like still doing the bio on like all of like the main vampires. They're talking about Vlad, and they said he used to be so powerful, as when he's struggling to hypnotize that guy through the window, or two different, a woman and a man, and then he knocks on the window to get his attention. But the second one he tried to, he used to be so powerful, but he had a confrontation with his sworn enemy, the Beast, and he's never been the same since then. He used to be able to hypnotize anyone, and now he can't hypnotize anyone. He used to be able to turn into any animal at a time.
But now he can't quite get the face right.
No, he can't quite get the faces right. And then during that scene, there's a cat, and it's just got Jermaine Clement's
It's so
face
good.
on it.
So it's also in that scene when they're chasing him through the hallway, and it's just like the three of them floating in a triad after him. It's really just...
That's what I'm saying. It was all of this ridiculous's at the same time. Then there's a bat flying around him. He loses track of the bat, and it's Deacon, and he's in his backpack.
Oh, that was gold.
He's just climbing out of his backpack.
That was the best special effects in the movie.
Yes.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah. And then after all that, Peter just comes flying out of the woods, tackles him, and like drags him off into the woods. And it's like you said, Peter got him.
Yeah. Oh,
and just that whole scene, it was ridiculous. Like, I'm cracking up. It's supposed to be horrifying, and like, some of it is, but in a funny way.
Right. I also like while they're sitting around the dinner table, and it's like, "Are you a virgin?" And he's like, "No." And the familiar is like, "Well, he was a virgin when we were dating." And he's like, "Yeah, but we were 12. And they do a cut. This is what my favorite thing about the mockumentary style is, when they cut in the middle of something that's going on to a post interview. And they cut to, I think they cut to Deacon, and he goes, "I think we drink virgin blood because it sounds cool." This cracked me up. I will say that led to, this is not my favorite. This is probably my second favorite thing, which actually was a Deacon thing. He's in an interview style thing, and they're doing a flashback, and it's his whole explanation of how he became a vampire. And I have the quote here, if you allow me to read it. He says, "One day I was selling my wares, and I walked past this old, creepy castle, and I look at it, and I think, very old and creepy. And then this creature flies at me. It dragged me back to this dark dungeon and bit into my neck. And just at the point of death, this creature forced me to suck its foul blood. And then it opened its wings like this." And he like spreads his hands up. And he goes, "And it hovered above me, screeching, 'Now you're a vampire.'" And it was Peter, and we're still friends today. They pull out.
Doesn't he do a terrible overdone laugh during the middle of that too?
I think so. Yeah.
He's going like, "Now you're a vampire." Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, my favorite part about that is though the documentary, they pull the camera out, and he just looks over, and he's talking, and Peter's right next to him. It's so good. That cracked me up. But I think my absolute favorite scene is when the cops come, and Viago, who is not great at hypnotism and is afraid that it's going to wear off at any moment, manages to hypnotize them just enough that they can't realize the worst thing that's happening in each room, but they notice some things.
Well, like, they notice the dead bodies, and they're just like coming up with he must have had too much to drink. You can't let it, like, he's gonna have a terrible day tomorrow. You should take care of him. I look at that concrete slabs on him. Oh yeah, he's gonna be very uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was when they're in the kitchen. The cops are in the kitchen, and Nick is up against the corner of the ceiling. Floating. And one of the cops lifts his flashlight and he goes, What do we have there? What's going on here?" And you're like, "Uh-oh." And he goes, "There's no smoke detectors in this room."
You know what it reminded me of was the scene from Clue when they have the dead body. I think it might have been 2 or 3 at that point in the whatever.
They're doing the dance and the make-out session. And they're making out, and and there's like 2 people who are alive. Just a few people having a good time. That's all.
Or Professor Plum, whoever it was, and like they're making out, and he's just having a good time. They're clearly corpses. They're doing a Weekend at Bernie's thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. He's floating in the corner. Deacon is floating, and Vlad is holding his like leg back to keep him from going up and killing Nick. And it's like they're just like totally deadpan the whole time.
I love it. I love it. And I think honestly, like, that was all fun. It definitely led to going down into the basement to seeing all the horror that was down there. But every bit of story that revolved around Peter was the best part of the story. Like him being set on fire and then trying to put him out, and then getting very emotional and yelling at them to turn the cameras off because they're in distress. It's so good.
And also it kind of fits into too what I was saying with like just like whenever there was action, like with like the doc, like that whole thing was actually really gripping, where he's thrashing around on fire and like one of them's trying to go down and he's like pulling him back, and the other, Vlad's running back and forth with the water, one kettle of water.
One kettle. Yep.
Throws it. Almost none of the water gets on him, but it didn't matter anyway because it was too late.
Oh my god, so silly. And then the other things that really stood out to me is just any scene with Stu, really, and just they're basically how much they love Stu compared to Nick. First off,
it wasn't exactly the same for sure, but there were shades of their relationship with Stu in like how they treated Haley Joel Osment.
100%. Yep.
In the premiere of season 2.
Yeah, definitely, which is a great episode.
Yes,
so good. The necromancer, Ben Wong, the necromancer.
What's that?
With Ben Wong, the necromancer.
Oh yeah,
Benedict Wong.
Benedict. But BD Wong is the one from Jurassic Park and Mr. Robot, and Benedict Wong is the one from Doctor Strange and The Martian.
So funny. I was like, who is, like, I know you. Who is this? And then I looked it up and
I knew it was someone. I couldn't remember who it was. I had a couple other things. Another one of the scenes that I really enjoyed just because it cracked me up and it also reminded me of something else was, you remember the scene when they first find out Nick's a vampire?
Mm-hmm.
Or is the first time he's coming back since like they've accepted he's a vampire and he's trying to fly through the window and he can't.
Oh my god. And he's like going feet first?
Yes, but right before that, Deacon is dancing. And
he certainly is.
The two of them are watching and Viago is doing a good job of pretending that he hates it and Vlad is doing a terrible job of pretending that he hates it, but both of them are quietly watching. And while he's dancing and with the ridiculous music, and by the way, the music in all of this was ridiculous. It all sounds exactly the same. It all makes me very uncomfortable. But the whole scene with him dancing reminded me of James Gumb in Silence of the Lambs. I don't know if you remember.
Oh my god.
Right?
So stupid.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking through, I know that in the IMDb quotes, they definitely pulled that he has a great line in that scene.
Does he? I don't remember.
And I'm trying to remember it.
I know he does something. He rips on Nick for like distracting them while he was dancing.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm see if I can pull it up. But no, you're 100% right. That's that is exactly what the scene reminded me of. I can't find it, but yeah, he says something along the lines like, I was doing my seductive dance, and they were really into it, and you ruined it.
Yes. There was a bunch of really good lines that are like just like super understated or deadpan or totally over the top and ridiculous. There's another. I mean, we covered a couple of them. I have another few that cracked me up.
Yeah.
The setup that Vlad is supposed to be Vlad the Impaler. And he says, I used to drive things through, I used to stab my my victims or my enemies, whatever. He goes, they used to call me Vlad the Poker. And it's like, oh, come on. And then later there's a reference to it with like how when we find out that the Beast is actually his ex-girlfriend and like a normal like woman vampire. And he says, oh yes, we got into a terrible fight and then she impaled me on something or a lamppost or something like that.
Yeah.
But between that, he's trying to. Who was he trying to find online? I don't even remember who it was.
I knew that's where you're going. The Facebook, where he teaches them how to use Facebook, and he goes,
yes,
you can message them or poke them, and they just all sound stops and they turn to the camera.
Because Stu doesn't know because he didn't hear that story, right? Stu's on the computer, and Vlad is looking over his shoulder, right? And he goes, oh yeah, we can message her or we can poke her. And Vlad just turns to the camera with this devilish grin.
Yeah. Oh man, that was gold. Yeah. Oh my god. There was speaking of understated lines with Vlad when he doesn't want to go to the party. Leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet. What are you bidding on? I'm bidding on a table.
Yeah, that was another one I had. That was such a great play on words. Also, that makeup, what the hell is he wearing?
I don't even know. But then when he said that, I was hoping that we would get into some dark readings at some point in the movie. We never really got there, but all I could think about was the show. Dark readings. Dark greetings, everyone. Oh, man.
I had one other one. Hang on a second, I gotta find it here. Oh, this was just stupid, but it made me laugh. When they get the invitation to the Unholy Masquerade, and he's reading it out to all of them, and it's before Vlad finds out that he isn't the guest of honor and that the Beast is going to be the guest of honor. Also, I love that every time they say the Beast, they show that same terrible sketch with the creepy music.
And it's like a weird bear thing with genitals on its chest.
Yeah, it's like up in the center, like
very
somewhere
weird.
on the solar plexus. I want to say, like just below the chest, just above the stomach, like, and that whole sketch thing with the ancient sketches that they did both in the movie and the show. I love that. It cracks me up like 90% of the time when they do that. When they're doing like history things. But yeah, so he's reading off the invitation to the Unholy Masquerade, and he goes, please RSVP, the event is on June 6th at 6 p.m. And he goes, 666.
Oh, that's great. I came across, while I had pulled up the quotes, and I came across a couple other ones that I want to share with you. One, which is another perfect Viago quote, which is him hearing the potential issue, but not making the appropriate association. And that is when he says, some people freak out a bit about the age difference. They think, what's this 96-year-old lady doing with a guy 4 times her age?
That's a classic like bait and switch comedy setup.
I love it.
The whole reveal, I was wondering the whole time because you knew it wasn't just going to stand as normal, like what the whole reveal with the Beast was going to be. It turns out it's his ex, and she's like relatively normal. That was all funny, but she's like super like shitty and snarky and all that. But everyone else seems to love her. Yeah. He shows up with that ridiculous mask, and somehow his face is normal again, even though he had aged 400 years before that. That was so good.
Them realizing that Stu is human is also a great series of events inside at the party.
Yeah, I was watching that whole scene. I was like, did they give him clearance? Because he's clearly the only human there, and like, can't all of these things be able to smell him? And like,
and then the zombie does
way too long to figure out. Well, the first person who realizes it, right, is what was her name? Was it Pauline or something like that? Was that the Beast's name?
The Beast is Pauline, yeah.
Yeah, Pauline's like, oh, such warm hands.
Yeah, warm hands. And then eventually they get him cornered.
Cheeks, there was something else she said too. Then he wanders off, and the zombie says, "Are you predeceased?"
That's so good. They pull him in there. They keep him protected, and I forget how it comes up, but like they ask him like what he does, or like, and he goes, I work for a company that basically we like take business requirements for organization. And Pauline goes, he's a virgin. Oh man. And this is a great Deacon comeback. A vampire, which in that same scene goes, I can smell a virgin from 1,000 paces. And Deacon goes, go 1,000 paces away and smell yourselves.
Yes!
Oh man. So one group of characters that we have not touched on yet, which are tremendous, is the werewolves.
Yes. And also, by the way, I know we talked about it very briefly when you watched the episode with the werewolves.
Yeah.
Him defeating him with the squeaky toy is one of the best anticlimactic jokes I've ever seen.
It is. It's so good. It was rivaled in the movie by the line when they're starting to transform and one of the werewolves goes, "Oh fuck." And the other werewolf from across the forest goes, "Hey, we're werewolves, not swearwolves."
Well, they did it earlier, right? They did it when they first ran into each other when they were out on the town. Yeah. And he says, I forget what it was. He said, like, oh, like, you're a bitch or something like that. He's like, hey, werewolves, not swearwolves. And the whole thing. And then, like, what's his name? There's the only real, quote unquote, real actor in that movie that, like, wasn't the main group. From Yes Man, and he's been in a couple other things. Yeah,
he's funny. Let's see if I can pull up his name.
I forget his name.
Reese Darby.
Yeah. And he goes, I'm a little on edge. It's the full moon, and there's something else going on. He said, I don't remember. And he's cursing up a storm.
Yeah. That's so good. They really cracked me up.
And all those interactions were great. Them just like verbally jousting. I was surprised by how uneven the fight was. The vampires got their asses kicked. Stu is brutally murdered, as well as a cameraman.
Yeah. Oh. How about when they're at that party And they go, please don't, like, you can't eat Stu and you can't eat any of the cameramen. Oh, maybe one.
Yeah, maybe one.
Vlad talking about Viago. He's an 18th century dandy, so he can be very fussy.
Was it about Viago or was it about Deacon? I thought it was about Deacon.
I thought it was about Viago because they showed that picture of him doing his very silly smile.
Oh, was it? I think I got like a series of texts at that moment because they had just been talking about Deacon right before that, so I thought they were still talking about Deacon then. But maybe you're right. It might have been Viago then.
Again, browsing the internet, Stu, if we push images, then we can see pictures of virgins. Vlad, Viago, and Deacon. Oh, yes. And then Vlad. I don't think she's a virgin if she's doing that.
I think I missed that one. I was thinking of what cracked me up about the whole thing with the Lord of the Internet was when he goes, oh, and yeah, so now with this you can search and you can find anything. Ooh, that scarf.
1912.
Yeah, 1912. I've been missing it for a century. Go ahead and find that. Search for it.
Viago, I went to the lounge the other day and there was blood all over my nice antique couch. Vlad, which one? The red one? Well, yeah, now it's red.
Guys, if you're going to have a victim in there, please just put down some plastic or whatever. Yeah. Who puts that? Well, vampires who are going to feed. Jackie was funny. I think Guillermo does it better.
Yeah.
The put upon familiar who's who's waiting to be turned. Although she actually got her wish quite early on.
From Nick.
And it's like totally offhand. Oh yeah, Nick did it. It's fine.
Yeah. I love how two of them they eventually they slightly warm up to Nick, but they still keep him at arm's length, but Stu is their best friend.
Yes, they love Stu.
So good.
Even after he becomes a werewolf, I actually love that they end up making amends with the werewolves and are best friends.
That was great, and they had them all over, and it's it takes about 30 minutes to get past the stench, but then it's fine. They're really cool guys.
We just opened up some windows, and it's Vlad outside, floating outside, opening the windows.
You can't go to the ball as Blade. He's a vampire hunter.
That scene was great, where they're just trying on all the different costumes. They're terrible. All of them were terrible.
I just found the line.
The night out. The night out is actually what I was thinking of when they're going out clubbing. And
oh my god!
I was talking about earlier
when they have to invite them in and they can't go into any of the clubs.
Please, just ask us to come in.
Just ask.
I was talking about it earlier, right? The mannequin where they're they're moving it around. It's actually kind of convincing how it's moving around. It almost looks like a person walking around with them.
Yep. I think the best part of that scene is when Deacon is actually drawing horrible versions of what they look like as evidence of how good they look.
Yes.
And it's not, they don't even mention it. He's just doing it and showing it to them.
Yeah. It's very important to have friends when you're a vampire because you can't see yourself in the reflection. And so you need someone to tell you how good you look.
Oh my god.
But none of them know what's supposed to look. He was wearing a blouse and an overcoat with camo pants.
Yep. Yep.
We get a lot of our clothes from our victims. You bite a guy and you
have a little blood on them, but
suck his blood. Ooh, I rather like his pants,
The line from Deacon that we were trying to search for before was, "I'm doing an erotic dance for my friends and you ruined it. I was in the zone. My friends were loving it." Oh man, it's at the very end of the list of quotes on IMDb, they actually have the whole scene where Peter's on fire.
Oh.
And it's Viago. "Peter, get away from the sunlight." Deacon, "Get in the shadows, Peter." Viago, "Get out of the sunlight." Vladislav returning with the water. "Get out of my way." Attempts to douse Peter. "I'm going in. I'm coming, Peter." Deacon, "No, it's sunlight." Deacon, "I'm coming for you." Viago, "It's sunlight out there. It's sunlight. It's sunlight." And just the horror in their voices as they're shouting. It was so good. Oh man, it really cracked me up. The movie was great. I went to the section of my notes that says we do our favorite parts, our least favorite part. I don't have a least favorite part. It was just all entertaining.
Oh yeah.
It was super fun. My God, I'd definitely watch it again, but really what it makes me want to do is finish the series, or even start the series over and then finish it, because it's so much fun. But it definitely gives me a new, like, as much as I loved Nandor before, I love him even more now with his absence.
Yes.
And just how perfect he is. I do think that Laszlo is weirdly a combination of every character from the movie.
Well, there's an aspect of that for both of them, I feel like, because there was like a handful of things. Yeah, I think you're right with Laszlo, because he gets a lot from, like, probably mostly from Vlad. But the thing with the erotic dance, like, that sounds like pure Laszlo.
Oh yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, I mean, maybe he's not so much Viago. Is there anything specifically you thought from him? Because Viago is much more Nandor.
Viago is definitely Nandor. I guess, I guess you're right. Because, the Viago and Nandor are 1-to-1. Laszlo is definitely like a combination of the other two vampires. And then they added multiple layers on top of it. What I think is interesting is Peter, I feel like the leap that they took was they didn't really, like, there really wasn't much more they could do with Peter, so they killed him. Right? Like, yes. in the movie. Which is similar to how they treated the Baron, but they made him more terrifying and, like, it more serious, and, like, it was more of a plot, and then, like, it was a happy accident.
Yeah, and, like, well, I think they also realized, because the character was so one note and that bit only has so much you can do, they replaced him with Colin Robinson.
Oh my god, who is
They gave
gold.
him the whole thing where it's like, okay, he's standoffish, he's, like, kind of other from the group, and literally lives in the basement.
Yep.
But other than that, there's, like, no overlap.
Yeah, I agree. Colin Robinson. Yeah, I spent the whole day at the DMV, and they finally just gave me a license. So I did what any young guy would do. I bought myself a convertible, I popped on some tunes, and I blocked the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel. And then they show the scene. It's a security camera at the Lincoln Tunnel, and it's all these cars, people screaming at him, beeping the horn. And then he looks up at the camera and does this thing where he opens his mouth and his eyes really wide, because he's really getting all that energy.
And his eyes shine. They always they always flash when he does that. That wasn't the one where he gets his promotion, right? You didn't see the one where he gets his promotion.
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, I think that might be. It's like one before or one after the Jackie Daytona, I think. There's a really strong run. The whole second season, up until like the final 2 or 3 episodes, is like gold. Like, it's peak, pure distilled version of the show. And like the final couple of episodes are still good. They don't reach like that. Like, they're more like on a par with like the first season.
I gotcha. Definitely in the first episode, or the Haley Joel Osment episode, another favorite Colin Robinson scene for me is when Haley Joel Osment's character is explaining those apples and the coupons that you go buy it and then you mail the coupon in and you get like a money back for it. And Colin Robinson goes, and I can explain this to people? And he goes, yeah, sometimes more than once. He goes, wow. And he goes, he's like, dude, I'm firing on all cylinders. You could drain me right now if you want. And he's like, you know what? So for some reason, I just can't. Oh man, that's so good. Then what flooded through my mind was like the idea of like him being like a telemarketer, and like how much pleasure he would get from that.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the whole premise of the episode. He gets promoted to middle management and realizes.
Okay. Perfect.
Like, every time they have one of those
Mr. Manager
meetings, he's just draining everyone in the meeting, and then it like emboldens him, so he drains the whole office.
It's so good. It's so good. This fucking guy.
Fucking guy.
Oh man, I was definitely within the movie. I guess my least favorite part is as much as like, it's not like he's not the best character. The absence of Guillermo is notable.
Yes.
Because that character always being in the house doing everything is so important.
His character has much more screen time than Jackie does.
Yeah, for sure. I think not to go into the show a lot here, but one of my favorite scenes so far, I think it was also in the second season. Guillermo's eating chocolate covered espresso beans to stay awake, and he's in the bathroom and he's all hyper and he's eating them and he's talking to the camera. and someone knocks on the door and he goes, don't come in, I'm busy. And he trips and he drops all of the chocolate covered espresso beans. And I made him, Guillermo, did you make a mess in there again? He's like, yes, master, yes, I made a mess. And he opens the door and he sees all the chocolate covered espresso beans on the floor and he goes, oh, Guillermo, you have to drink more water. And then he makes like later on, like towards the close of that episode, he does make another comment about his dry poops.
Oh, I don't remember that. I remember what you were talking about with the espresso beans.
So silly. Anyway, What We Do in the Shadows is a absolute treat.
Yes.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, I think we got to it quite adequately.
I agree. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthesix@thespinchoon.com or tweet us at thespinchoon. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
You're dead.